deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Almighty God, who in thy wisdom and goodness hast appointed the office of rulers and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of men and women, we beseech thee to behold with thy abundant favor us, thy servants, whom thou hast been pleased to call to the performance of important trusts in these islands. Let thy blessing descend upon us here assembled, and grant that we may treat and consider all matters that shall come on our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote thy honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of these islands, and those whose interests thou hast committed to our charge. And this we beg for Jesus Christ's sake. Amen. May the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, and the love of God, and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with us all evermore. Amen.
Okay. Members? Yes. Members, before we get to business of the day, I would just like to take the time to join you in congratulating the new leader of the opposition, Mr. Keene. Mr. Keene, congratulations. And I will offer, if he so desires, the premier, if he wishes to have a word or two of congratulations. That's entirely up to him. I have joined the House, so you don't have to. Okay.
Madam Acting Speaker, I shall concur with your comments and look forward to a robust session today.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So, confirmation of minutes. Okay, this is the minutes of July the 18th, and there are no objections or anything. So, messages from the governor, there are none. I just wish to announce that the speaker, as you can see, is absent. Ms. Bill, the deputy clerk, is absent, and Member Vance Campbell is absent. They are attending the 47th CPA Caribbean Regional Conference in Bahamas. I would also like to acknowledge at this time that we have someone shadowing the Sergeant at Arms, and that is Miss Sergeant Trott. Mr. Trott, welcome. We hope you enjoy your tuition. Okay. That brings us to messages from the Senate. There are none. We have papers and other communications to the House, and there are considerable. So I call on first the junior minister, Minister Frabit.
Good morning, Acting Speaker. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Madam Acting Speaker, I have the honor to attach and submit for the consideration of the Honorable House of Assembly, the National Pension Scheme, Occupational Pensions, Administration Fees, Regulations 2025, an exercise of this, the power conferred by Section 69(1)(j)(b) and Q of the National Pension Scheme, Occupational Pension Act 1998. Thank you.
Thank you, member. I now call on the Minister of National Security. Minister.
Madam Acting Speaker, I don't have the paperwork in front of me, so can you?
This is the National Violence Reduction Strategy Blueprint.
Right, so can you skip over? I'll be back.
Okay, I will. Hopefully you get it soon, and I will. If you can't do today, then you'll have to lay it the next session. Oh, okay. You're able to do it now, Minister?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Acting Speaker. I have the honor to attach and submit for the information of the Honorable House of Assembly the National Violence Reduction Strategy Blueprint, an exercise House of Assembly for information purposes for this Honorable House.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. The next person I'm calling on is the Minister of Tourism, Transport, Culture, and Sport. Very long title.
Thank you, Madam Acting Speaker. Madam Acting Speaker, I have the honor to attach and submit for the information of the Honorable House of Assembly The annual report of the audited financial statements for the Bermuda Sports Anti-Doping Authority for year ending March 31st, 2025.
Okay. Okay. Minister, you're still standing?
Can I go through?
You may. That's why I said okay.
The next one is the civil aviation. Madam Acting Speaker, I have the honor to attach and submit for the information of this Honorable House of Assembly the Bermuda Civil Aviation Authority annual reports for the year ending March 31st, 2021 through 2024.
Okay, so you're laying all 4,
Yes, thank you.
1, 2, 3. I think it's 5 reports.
Thank you, Madam
Okay.
Acting Speaker.
I think
Madam Acting Speaker, I have the honor to attach and submit for the information of this Honorable House of Assembly the Bermuda Tourism Authority consolidated financial statements for the year ending December 31st, 2024, pursuant to Section 22(2) of the Bermuda Tourism Authority Act 2013, along with the Bermuda Tourism Authority 2024 year in review.
okay. Continue, Minister.
Madam Acting Speaker, I have the honor to attach and submit for the consideration of this Honorable House of Assembly the Tourism Investment Navigate Drone Light Show Order 2025, proposed to be made by the Minister responsible for tourism with the written agreement of the Minister of Finance in exercise of the power conferred by Section 5 of the Tourism Investment Act 2017. I also have the honor to attach and submit for consideration of the Honorable House of Assembly the Tourism Investment Odyssey Commercial Charter Yacht Order 2025, proposed to be made by the Minister responsible for tourism with the written agreement of the Minister of Finance in exercise of the power conferred by Section 5 of the Tourism Investment Act 2017.
Thank you, Minister. And I think you have, oh, no, I believe you are done. You are done.
Thank you, Madam Acting Speaker.
Yes. And I call on the Minister for covering financial assistance. That's the Minister of Youth, Social Issues, and Seniors, I believe.
Good morning, Madam Acting Speaker. I have the honor to attach and submit for the information of this Honorable House of Assembly the Financial Assistance Amendment Regulations 2025, and will exercise in the power conferred by Section 21 of the Financial Assistance Act of 2001.
Thank you, Minister. Yeah. Okay, continuing. I think, yeah. Hold on. Yes, I think these check. Yes. Thank you. Petitions. There are none. Statements by ministers and junior ministers. There are several. And I call on the Premier and Finance Minister to deliver his first statement.
Thank you very much, Madam Acting Speaker, and good morning to you again. I will deliver my first statement, Madam Acting Speaker, which is on the Governor's Council. Madam Acting Speaker, our community is confronted by a cycle of violence that has now become generational. The pattern of events that shake our sense of safety and pierce hearts of families and friends have demanded a strategic approach on several fronts. Successive governments have employed methods that have turned many away from the lifestyle choices that result in this violence. The nature of these issues and the disproportionate impact of the actions of a few have on our community means that we cannot ever rest on what was done before. Strong and sustained leadership is required. Madam Acting Speaker, Bermuda's Constitution makes the United Kingdom's appointed representative the governor responsible for internal security. This fact is cold comfort to the grieving families of victims or those in our communities who want safer streets and neighborhoods. They rightly turn to their elected government to lead and not lean on the 57-year-old Constitution as an excuse not to act. Madam Acting Speaker, Section 70 of that Constitution makes provision for the Governor's Council and specifically indicates that the Council's function is to consider matters for which the Governor is responsible, in this case, internal security. Additionally, Madam Acting Speaker, Section 76 requires the Governor to summon a meeting of the Council when requested by the Premier to do so. Ministers and others can also be summoned to attend the Council by the Governor after consultation with the Premier in the case of ministers. Madam Acting Speaker, in the wake of the horrific shooting just one city block away from this chamber, I request that the Governor convene a meeting of the Council and in consultation with the Governor, agreed that I should be joined by the Honorable Attorney General and Minister of Justice, the Honorable Members, the Minister of National Security and Youth, Social Development and Seniors, and the Minister of Education. Madam Acting Speaker, the attendance of these ministers in the Council's meeting set out to demonstrate the broad approach required to address the issues presented by community violence. Legislative change, enforcement, understanding the impact on young people and how this cycle affects the critical educational path on which our young people should be engaged. All of these things form the foundation of the government's strong leadership in addressing community violence. Madam Acting Speaker, as has been set out publicly, the Council received presentations from the Commissioner and Deputy Commissioner of Police, the Director of Public Prosecutions, and the Collector of Customs. In each case, these frontline officials set out their views on how their remit might be enhanced in the collective efforts to address these issues. Madam Acting Speaker, I reiterated in clear terms that any perceived resource challenges or bureaucratic procurement processes would not be allowed to frustrate the needs of the community who want strong enforcement, sound technology put to work in gathering intelligence, and upgraded laws which reflect the gravity of the offenses committed. The government is a partner to both law enforcement and helping agencies who are engaged in this critical endeavor. And as a partner, we are determined to facilitate funding, recruitment, procurement, and program delivery as demanded by the people we serve. Let there be no doubt regarding our commitment to supporting every aspect of the implementation strategy to which the Honorable Member, the Minister of National Security, will speak to later in this sitting. Madam Acting Speaker, this week began with return to school for most of our parents. Parents said farewell to summer days and resumed a stricter home routine to match the need for ideal conditions for teaching and learning to which our educators and our children are likewise committed. Madam Acting Speaker, parental responsibility is not devolved to schools, principals, and teachers. We as parents owe our children a nonstop focus on their welfare and development of their moral character. We are responsible for the people they become, and it is us as parents who cannot be shielded from accountability when we fail to do our part. Honorable members will be aware that our statute books contain a 2010 law entitled the Parental Responsibility Act. Madam Acting Speaker, the preamble to that act states as follows. Whereas it is expedient to make provisions to prevent youth crime and disorder and to make provision to hold parents liable for the willful misconduct of their children in relation to the property of others. Therefore, Madam Acting Speaker, recognize that 15 years have passed since this act was brought into operation. I have asked to be reviewed to ensure that it continues to provide the legal framework required for these times and that our helping agencies have the capacity to fulfill the duties imposed upon them by this act. This government does not believe in an unduly punitive society, but we do believe in responsibility for those who we bring into this world and who we have been blessed to form into young people who can contribute into making our island a better place. Madam Acting Speaker, these are our children. We are responsible for them. When we fail in that responsibility and there are community impacts, the community demands consequences. It is not ideal for governments to mind matters of the home, but when failure to do so spills over into the community, it is the government's responsibility to act. Madam Acting Speaker, on Tuesday of next week's Governor's Council, we'll meet again. We'll receive updates from the uniformed services and also ensure that all are engaged in the violence prevention and intervention programs that are in place through the National Violence Reduction Strategy. Our commitment to reverse these trends is as strong as that on enforcement and accountability, which I have outlined today. Madam Acting Speaker, as this government continues to bring the strong leadership required to address community violence, I reflect on the excitement seen on the faces of hundreds of children thousands of children, Madam Acting Speaker, who started school on Tuesday. I saw in them the best of what Bermuda can become. Their innocence spoke volumes and provided the inspiration we need to press on with this fight. We owe them their future, and it is this government's firm commitment to deliver on that promise. Thank you, Madam Acting Speaker.
Thank you, Premier. Premier, are you ready to do your second paper? Yes, do have some water.
Madam Acting Speaker, in the government's 2024-25 budget statement, and again in my statement to this Honorable House in May of this year, I committed that the government would bring forward reforms to ensure the sustainability of the Public Service Superannuation Fund, which I will refer to in this statement as the fund. Later today, I will table the Public Service Superannuation PSSF Stability Amendment Act 2025 in this Honorable House. Madam Acting Speaker, this has been a long journey. In 2019, the review process began in earnest, and since then, there have been years of consultation, study, and discussion. The Fiscal Responsibility Panel has urged action, the opposition has urged action, and the public, including public officers themselves, have asked when the government will act. Madam Acting Speaker, that time is now. This government has demonstrated that when we make commitments, we deliver. Since returning to office, the Progressive Labour Party has taken on the tough issues of Bermuda's public finances. We reversed years of unsustainable deficits, made our tax system more fair, and successfully balanced Bermuda's budget, delivering the first budget surplus in 23 years. We have restored fiscal credibility, reduced gross debt, and ensured that Bermuda's finances are on a stable footing. Public sector pension reform is the next step in that journey, securing the future not just for public servants, but of Bermuda's fiscal house as a whole. Madam Acting Speaker, the Public Service Superannuation Fund, which pays the pensions of our teachers, police officers, nurses, prison officers, firefighters, and the many other public officers who serve this country, is not on a sustainable footing. The most recent actuarial valuation as of March 2023 shows an actuarial deficit of just over $1 billion. The fund is only 37% funded. Without reform, the fund is projected to deplete its assets by 2045, 20 years from now. That is within the working lifetime of many Bermudians now in the public service. The numbers matter, but let me explain what they mean in plain terms. A funding ratio of 37% means that for every dollar owed in pensions, the fund only has 37 cents in assets. A deficit of $1 billion means that unless changes are made, taxpayers will be required to cover the shortfall, leading to increased taxes for residents and businesses. And depletion in 2045 means that a Bermudian in the public service today could reach retirement only to find the fund exhausted. Madam Acting Speaker, that is a risk that no responsible government can accept. The math is clear. The contributions going into the fund are not enough to cover the benefits being paid out. As people live longer, the number of retirees grows and the pressure on the fund increases. Unless changes are made, taxpayers will face an ever-increasing liability that could jeopardize both pensions and Bermuda's wider economy, putting credit ratings under pressure and leading to increased interest rates for all. The current path is unsustainable, and to do nothing would be irresponsible. Madam Acting Speaker, Bermuda is not alone in facing this challenge. Across the world, governments have been compelled to act. The United Kingdom has legislated gradual increase in retirement age, moving towards 68. Canada has raised contribution rates for its public sector pensions. In the United States, many states reformed their systems, raising both contributions and retirement ages to preserve solvency. Elsewhere, the Netherlands has linked its retirement age to life expectancy, automatically adjusting as people live longer. Ireland has extended retirement ages and restructured public sector benefits. Australia has raised both contribution rates and retirement ages in recognition of demographic change. The OECD has reported that nearly every major public pension system has undergone reform in the past decade. The global trend is clear. As life expectancy increases and pension promises become more expensive, governments have had to make adjustments. Madam Acting Speaker, Bermuda is part of that global reality, and this PLP government is taking the necessary and responsible steps now to ensure long-term stability of public sector pensions. The reforms, Madam Acting Speaker. The reforms that this government has introduced today are a product of careful analysis, actuarial advice, legal advice, and extensive consultation. They are phased, they are fair, and they are designed to make public sector pensions secure for the future. And I will cover them, the 6 major changes, Madam Acting Speaker. First, earliest unreduced pension age. Madam Acting Speaker, this is the most important change. At present, non-special group members, which are the broad majority of public officers, receive an unreduced pension at age 60, and special group members, which are our uniformed services, at age 50. Under these reforms, these thresholds will rise gradually to 65 and 55 respectively, phased in between 2027 and 2035. This, Madam Acting Speaker, is effectively the retirement age for most public officers because it is at the point which they can retire without penalty. The change from 60 to 65 for most public officers is significant. However, even at 65, Bermuda's effective retirement age remains well below the benchmarks in most developed countries where retirement ages are 67 or higher. This change is about aligning with demographic realities while still providing our public officers with one of the more generous public pension systems globally. Second, contributions. Madam Acting Speaker, at present, non-special group members, the majority of public officers contribute 8% to their salary. This will increase gradually to 10% over 3 years. For our uniform services, contributions will increase from 9.5% to 11.5% over the same period. Importantly, these increases will be offset by negotiated salary uplifts, meaning that public officers will not see their take-home pay reduce. This approach balances the need to strengthen the fund with this government's commitment to fairness for workers. Third, Madam Acting Speaker, the pension formula. Today, pensions are calculated based on the final year's salary. This is generous, but it is also unsustainable and creates inequities. Under the proposed reforms, pensions will be calculated based on the average of the final 10 years of salary phased in over a 10-year period. This change prevents anomalies, ensures fairness, and aligns Bermuda with global best practice. Fourth, the mandatory retirement age. Madam Acting Speaker, the maximum age at which a public officer must retire is 65 for teachers, 68 for other non-special group members, and 55 for uniformed services. These will gradually increase to 70 and 60, respectively, by 2035. It is important for honorable members and public officers to note that this is not the earliest age at which someone can retire, but the latest age at which they must retire. These changes reflect longer life expectancy and modern working realities. Fifth, the lump sum conversion factor. Madam Acting Speaker, currently a retiring member can commute part of their pension into a lump sum calculated by a fixed factor of 11.5, which is static in legislation. This provision has proven costly to the fund. Going forward, this conversion factor will be actuarially assessed at each valuation, ensuring that lump sums are properly funded and do not weaken the fund's long-term sustainability. And 6, governance. Madam Acting Speaker, the governance of the fund will be strengthened. The Public Service Superannuation Board will have a more formal role in reviewing actuarial evaluations and advising on future reforms. Decisions about pensions will be based on evidence and actuarial advice. And it is only right that the representatives of those who depend on public sector pensions play a more active role in determining the future sustainability of the fund. Madam Acting Speaker, taken together, these reforms will transform the trajectory of the fund. Actuarial modeling indicates that instead of depleting by 2045, the fund can achieve fully funded status by 2060. In practical terms, that means that pensions will be secure not only for today's retirees, but for generations to come. Madam Acting Speaker, these reforms did not come easily. They are the product of years of consultation. The government has engaged with unions, staff associations, and stakeholders across the public service. Multiple meetings were held, proposals were revised, adjustments were made to ensure what is brought to this House is both fair and workable. We recognize, and I want to emphasize this point, Madam Acting Speaker, that any change to pensions is deeply personal. People plan their lives around their retirement expectations. For many, the pension they earn through years of public service is one of their most important financial assets. That is why these reforms have been carefully phased in. That is why we have sought to protect take-home pay. And that is why we have chosen reforms that, while necessary, are fair and sustainable. We listen to stakeholders. Unions stressed the importance of gradual implementation, and we agreed. Workers expressed concern about protecting the value of their pensions, and we responded by ensuring that reforms secure the fund for the future. Stakeholders asked for fairness, and we delivered reforms that share responsibility across contributors, current and future beneficiaries, and the government. Madam Acting Speaker, I acknowledge that there are some who may feel that benefits are being diminished. To them, I say these reforms are about protection, not reduction. With this bill, the pace of accrual of benefits and the level of benefits that you will be paid are not changing. These reforms will ensure that your pension and the pensions of those who come after you will be able to be paid when you retire. Madam Acting Speaker, I also would like to speak directly to our current retirees. One of the most difficult consequences of the fund's financial challenges has been the freeze on pension benefit increases since 2014. This has placed increasing pressure on many of our retirees as the cost of living has risen. The reforms we're bringing forward today are not only about securing pensions for those still in service, they are also about creating the financial capacity to advance benefit increases for those already retired and for those who will retire in the future. With these reforms and subject to actuarial advice, we will be in a position to consider benefit increases. While this bill does not enact those increases, during this legislative session, after consultation with the actuaries and the Public Service Superannuation Board, the government will bring forward legislation to increase pension benefits for current public sector retirees. Madam Acting Speaker, that is an important commitment, and it is only possible because we are taking the steps today to place the fund on a secure footing. In closing, Madam Acting Speaker, this has been a long journey. Multiple rounds of consultation, years of study, and careful consideration have led to the reforms this government is bringing forward today. These changes are not easy, But no one in Bermuda, and especially all honorable members, should doubt that they are necessary. This bill will reduce our unfunded liabilities, protect pensions for current and future public officers, and secure the financial future of the Public Service Superannuation Fund. These reforms are about responsibility, they're about fairness, and above all, they're about ensuring that the men and women who dedicate their lives to serving Bermuda and its people can retire with dignity and security. This government has shown before that it will not shy away from difficult problems. We delivered a budget surplus after years of deficits. We made our tax system more fair, reducing tax on workers on Bermuda. We restored fiscal stability to Bermuda's public finances and are now positioned to reduce our national debt. And today we take another step in that tradition, securing pensions for the future. Madam Acting Speaker, these reforms are the right thing to do. They are fair, they are responsible, and they will ensure that Bermuda's public officers today and tomorrow can depend on the pensions they have worked so hard to earn. Thank you, Madam Acting Speaker.
Thank you, Premier. I call on the next minister, and that is the Minister of Housing, Deputy Premier. Have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Acting Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise today to provide honorable members with an update on the work of the Morgan's Point Development Company, or MPDC. This government recognizes the significance of the Morgan's Point site, not only for its physical scale, but for its potential role in Bermuda's future economic and social development. It is therefore important that I take this opportunity to apprise the House of the progress that it has made in the strengthening the company's operations, ensuring good governance, and preparing the site for redevelopment and setting the stage for long-term strategic decisions. Madam Acting Speaker, by way of context, honorable members will recall the long and difficult history of the Morgan's Point site. What began as a land swap for Southlands in 2011 was heralded as an opportunity to deliver significant hotel and residential development. Successive proposals included boutique hotels, branded condominiums, and a luxury resort anchored by the Caroline Bay Marina. However, as was outlined when the Morgan's Point Company Act 2022 was introduced in this House, the project was beset by financial instability from its inception. Construction proceeded on the basis of a $165 million government guarantee rather than on financial viability of the project itself. When the project defaulted, the Bermuda government was legally obligated to honor that guarantee. To date, taxpayers have borne more than $230 million in direct costs and interest payments, with little to show beyond an unfinished site and a marina. It is precisely because of this painful history, Madam Acting Speaker, that the work of the MPDC today is centered on discipline, transparency, and rigorous due diligence. Every step now being taken, from corporate governance and compliance to feasibility analysis and structural assessments, is designed to avoid the mistakes of the past. Our aim is to ensure that this critical national asset is managed responsibly in the public interest and with the long-term goal of securing the best value for Bermuda. Madam Acting Speaker, earlier this year, government provided support to MPDC to establish its operational base and to commence feasibility and cleanup activities. Since that time, the company has concentrated on building the necessary foundations for sound management and effective oversight. One of the first steps has been the formal onboarding of Kerry Olson as corporate secretary. This appointment ensures that the board of directors is operating in full compliance with its statutory and fiduciary obligations. In addition, MPDC has confirmed its compliance with the Personal Information Protection Act and appointed a dedicated privacy officer to oversee all data protection responsibilities. These measures speak to a strong commitment to transparency, accountability, and proper governance. Madam Acting Speaker, on the financial and operational side, MPDC has made notable progress. Bank accounts have been established and funded through Bermuda Commercial Bank, and the company has successfully addressed vendor payables and regulatory fees. Work is currently underway to secure directors and officers' liability insurance, which will further protect both the company and its board. The company is also in the process of finalizing the appointment of accounting and legal service providers to provide ongoing professional support. Taken together, these steps represent a deliberate effort to ensure that the company's operations are robust, compliant, and fit for purpose. Madam Acting Speaker, recognizing the complexity of the work at Morgan's Point, MPDC has engaged an operations and project management consultant to oversee the various work streams. This arrangement ensures that activities ranging from feasibility studies to site readiness preparations are properly coordinated and delivered with efficiency. It also provides Cabinet with the assurance that the project is being managed with professional discipline. In terms of site readiness and cleanup, MPDC has developed a phased plan to address both immediate and long-term requirements. The first stage has involved assessments of hurricane preparedness, as well as cost estimation exercises to inform contract negotiations. These are critical steps to ensuring that the site is safe, secure, and maintained responsibly. The next stage will involve the engagement of contractors to carry out on-site cleanup work. Honorable members will appreciate that such work must be undertaken with the highest regard for health, safety, and environmental standards, and MPDC is taking care to ensure that these considerations are given full weight. Madam Acting Speaker, on the development side, the company has not stood still. Board members and consultants have undertaken site visits and due diligence exercises, and communications have commenced with leading structural engineering firms. I can advise honorable members that site visits are intended to be held in the near future, during which engineers will conduct detailed structural assessments and prepare property condition reports for buildings R1 through R5. These reports will form the backbone of a comprehensive redevelopment strategy, providing clear evidence of what is feasible and what investment will be required. A further critical element of this work is the feasibility study now underway. This study is updating the financial model originally prepared in 2021, taking into account the effects of inflation, site degradation, and current market conditions. The updated model will allow the company, and by extension government, to consider a range of options for the site's redevelopment. These options include direct development by MPDC, public-private partnerships, or the potential disposal of certain assets through sale or lease. In each case, the analysis will ensure that decisions are grounded in rigorous financial assessment and strategic foresight. Madam Acting Speaker, looking ahead, the company has set out its next steps. These include finalizing the appointment of its accounting and legal service providers, securing D&O insurance coverage, engaging contractors to carry out the phased site cleanup, completing the structural engineering assessments and property condition reports, and advancing the feasibility work to a point where firm recommendations can be brought before Cabinet. These steps represent steady progress, but also a clear trajectory towards enabling long-term redevelopment at Morgan's Point. Madam Acting Speaker, in closing, I wish to emphasize that Morgan's Point Development Company is now well established and is diligently advancing its mandate. While much work lies ahead, the foundations are now in place to support an informed and strategic approach to the redevelopment of this important site. I look forward to returning to this honorable House in due course with further updates as the company moves from planning into implementation. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. And before I recognize the next minister, I would like to recognize the Senator, Senator Furley of the OBA. Welcome. Minister of Cabinet Office, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Acting Speaker. Madam Acting Speaker, I am pleased to rise today to report on the successful completion of Bermuda's first government accelerator program. This initiative, undertaken in partnership with the government of the United Arab Emirates, marks an important milestone in our ongoing efforts to modernize public services, strengthen the public service, and deliver better outcomes for the people of Bermuda. Mr. Acting Speaker, the UAE's accelerator model is based on the principle that government should not take years to solve problems that can be addressed in 100 days. It emphasizes cross-departmental collaboration, disciplined goal setting, and the delivery of visible results in a short time frame. In September 2024, the Honorable Premier accepted the UAE's invitation for Bermuda to participate in its global initiative, and in early 2025, we launched our first cohort. The first step was to identify the challenges. To qualify, each had to align with the Public Service Strategic Plan 2024-2027, involve more than one ministry so no single entity could simply direct another, have resources available to deliver, and be possible to resolve within 100 days. After reviewing the 5 options, 3 challenges were selected for acceleration. 1, connecting personnel information, integrating payroll, pensions, HR, and IT systems so that a single update would automatically cascade across all systems. 2, creating an e-profile, designing a unique government profile for service users, enabling one logon, one profile for residents and businesses when interacting with the government. And 3, revamping gov.bm, redesigning the government's website into a modern, mobile-friendly, accessible gateway to services with accurate content and stronger search. Madam Acting Speaker, to prepare, a core team led by the Deputy Head of Public Services, Dr. Jennifer Attright Sterling, received training from the UAE facilitators. This enabled them to cascade the approach through workshops with accelerating teams and executive sponsors. In February, each project established a challenge note. Sponsors were appointed and acceleration teams were formally launched. From there, the work was structured around milestone workshops, a launch, day 25, day 75, and a day 50 progress report workshop, and finally the closing workshop held last Monday, September 8th. Between these sessions, teams met intensively, 48 team meetings, 24 cross-agency encounters, and consultations with over 130 stakeholders, contributing to nearly 400 human hours of effort. Madam Acting Speaker, the process itself is worth noting. Each team was required to, 1, map stakeholders and consult with both internal and external users. 2, co-design solutions with those affected, ensuring transparency and buy-in. And 3, report progress regularly to executive sponsors and adjust as necessary. The website revamp team, for example, worked closely with Vision Bermuda to ensure the prototype met international accessibility standards. This not only improved usability for the visually impaired, but also improved the navigation for all users. Madam Acting Speaker, the personal information team focused on mapping and synchronizing core data fields such as names, address, job titles, and contacts across 4 major government systems: Enterprise One, PX 3000 for pensions, ET-Web for talent management, and Active Directory for IT users. The new personal sync process fills the gap where no integration previously existed and is now ready for production employment. The e-profile team created a proof of concept for a unique identifier generated from the existing social insurance database, but designed with no personal meaning, making it secure, private, and persistent. They built a prototype UID generator, mapped the integration needed for legacy systems, and produced a roadmap that moved towards a national single sign-on service in the near future. The website revamp team delivered a working prototype built on a modern content management system, enabling information to be updated once and published consistently across the site. Enhanced search, mobile responsiveness, and an inclusive design means users will have faster, easier access to information. Full implementation is now scheduled to begin with a public launch targeted for early 2026. These initiatives support the government's commitment of ensuring government services are digitally accessible to every Bermudian, making interactions simpler, faster, and more transparent, and reducing red tape for residences and businesses. Madam Acting Speaker, these are simply not prototypes. Each team were required to submit a sustainability and scalability plan for the initial Day 100 workshop. These plans outlined who would own each initiative, how the work would be maintained, and how the solutions would be scaled up to other departments and services. In other words, these are not 100-day experiments. They are the beginning of lasting reform and ensure that government's vision for an agile and accountable public service becomes a permanent reality, not a pilot or an experiment. Madam Acting Speaker, to demonstrate how seriously Bermuda treats this partnership, while attending the United Postal Union Congress Conference in Dubai earlier this week, I arranged to meet personally with senior leaders of the UAE Accelerator Program, including Mr. Abdullah Al-Jarwin and Dr. Rahia Al-Hashimi. That in-person engagement allowed us to discuss the hurdles faced, the solutions developed, and to reinforce Bermuda's commitment to embedding this model in our public service culture. I believe this step has strengthened the partnership and ensured that Bermuda is seen internationally as a credible partner in government innovation. Importantly, the UAE facilitators were so impressed with Bermuda's execution that they indicated during this in-person meeting that our experience is being considered to be used as a case study to guide other countries adopting the accelerator model. Evidence shows that governments which adopt proven international models while tailoring them for local needs achieve faster, more reliable reform. Bermuda has the opportunity to position itself alongside leading innovation nations. Madam Acting Speaker, this is only the beginning. In months ahead, the personal sync will be deployed. The e-profile will move towards integration with other systems, and the website revamp will roll out to the public. The lessons learned from this first cohort will be applied to new accelerator projects, including that the public service continues to improve and innovate. I close by thanking our partners in the UAE, the Accelerator Core team led by Dr. Atrai Sterling, the sponsors and executive owners, and especially the many public officers who demonstrated that even within the everyday pressures of their day jobs, they can deliver transformative change in just 100 days. In doing so, we are not only fulfilling the commitments set out in the throne speech, but also building a public service that is fit for the future, innovative, people-focused, and trusted by all Bermudians. Thank you, Madam Acting Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. I call on the next minister, the Minister of National Security. Minister.
Good morning, Acting Deputy Speaker, and good morning to your listening public. Madam Acting Speaker, I rise today to update this Honorable House on the National Violence Reduction Strategy. Madam Speaker, honorable members will recall that this strategy was debated in this Honorable House in December 2024, reflecting a shared commitment across government and community to address the root causes of violence. The strategy is guided by 3 tiers of action: the steering committee that provides leadership and oversight, the interagency gang enforcement team that focuses on targeted interventions and enforcement, and the interagency community response team that delivers prevention and support services on the ground. Madam Acting Speaker, the National Violence Reduction Steering Committee, comprised of permanent secretaries from across government, provides the highest level of coordination and accountability. It ensures that ministries are aligned, resources are strategically allocated, and that progress against the 8 goals is rigorously monitored. Importantly, The steering committee is now managing a framework of SMART goals with clear and measurable objectives dedicated to each ministry and agency. Madam Acting Speaker, the National Violence Reduction Strategy is an overarching national framework that brings together multiple agencies and ministries under the leadership of the Ministry of National Security. This framework is structured around short, medium, and long-term goals. The short-term goals have been achieved by establishing the governance architecture, the steering committee, the interagency gang enforcement team, and the interagency community response team. The medium-term goals focus on scaling up and enhancing programs, some of which were already underway. The long-term goals speak to the deeper mission of addressing the root causes of violence, transforming perceptions, reshaping behaviors, and shifting cultural norms so that peace and opportunity become the standard for our communities. Madam Acting Speaker, the Interagency Gang Enforcement Team, or IGET as we know it, is now evolving into a more balanced mechanism that also integrates preventative approaches. By bringing together police, corrections, probation, education, child and family services, and other partners, IGET now functions as a multi-agency prevention tool and aids the development of early intervention plans that prevent young people from entering cycles of violence. The interagency community response will operate at the grassroots level. Its mandate is to strengthen prevention and community resilience by working directly with neighborhoods, community organizations, faith-based groups, families, community leaders, and the private sector. Madam Acting Speaker, community mobilization is the heart of prevention. The ministry has invested $397,434 in sports organizations across the island, including Bayless Bay Cricket Club, Bermuda Brazilian Football School, Bermuda Cricket Board of Control, Boulevard Community Club, North Village, Western Stars, St. David's, Devonshire Colts, Flats Victoria, and Freystar Cricket Institute. In the coming year, the Ministry of National Security will offer restorative justice training to sports club coaches, staff, and stakeholders. These clubs are key partners in creating safe and structured environments for young people, offering mentorship, positive identity reinforcement, and conflict mediation during critical after-school and weekend hours. Clubs were required to show not only the need for facility improvements, but also their capacity to deliver structured youth programs that reinforce discipline, teamwork, and conflict resolution. Some of the most intensive work we do is with those at the highest risk. That is why counseling and social service support grants were established, requiring applicants to provide evidence of direct work with at-risk youth, or for violence prevention and mediation, and commit to regular monitoring. Strong families are essential for preventing violence. The ministry has provided $135,000 to community organizations that deliver wraparound support and trauma-informed care, counseling and support for families in crisis, including the Family Center and transitional community services. These partners offer critical support during times of crisis and play a central role in recovery and resilience. Additionally, the Gang Violence Reduction Team's Coordinated Crisis Response Team continues to meet with families after violent incidents to provide immediate support, restore calm, and prevent retaliation. In addition, Madam Acting Speaker, $25,000 has been allocated to Crime Stoppers Bermuda to enhance anonymous reporting. This investment reflects our commitment to encouraging public participation and empowering residents to share information that helps keep our communities safer. We recently reached an agreement with Crime Stoppers wherein we pledged to provide funding up to $50,000 for information that leads to an arrest and charge for serious violent crime. Madam Acting Speaker, the Gang Violence Reduction Team has worked closely with 60 public high school students and engage middle and primary school students through the IM program, providing alternatives for those who are excluded from traditional schooling. To further invest in young people's growth, $60,000 has been dedicated to youth mentorship and leadership development programs, including Future Leaders Bermuda, We Speak Bermuda, and Women's Resource Center. The ministry has also advanced the work of the strategy through community grants dedicated to youth development programs. These grants support organizations delivering mentorship, leadership training, and wraparound services to young people most at risk. In June, the Truth Be Told Youth Rise Against the Violence Summit brought together more than 70 students and 200 attendees, showcasing powerful youth-led campaigns addressing mental health, the snitch culture, and gang violence. Madam Acting Speaker, education and employment are key to breaking cycles of violence. Over $84,000 has been awarded to the Adult Education and Care Learning Center to provide GED preparation, digital literacy, and re-engagement programs for young people identified by our caseworkers in need of such support. Through the Redemption Program, 15 individuals who actively engaged in the 20-week program have remained free of reoffending, a powerful sign of progress. The Gang Violence Reduction Team also carried out prison visits to prepare individuals for release, with through-the-gate care packages under development to smooth the transition. Several clients have already secured placements at a local hotel and in the trades program, media companies, government departments, and/or enrolled in training programs, including the Bacardi bartending program and other certification programs. Madam Acting Speaker, prevention is most effective when all sectors are working together. The Gang Violence Reduction Team has attended dozens of interagency case management meetings with schools, the Department of Child and Family Services, justice partners, and workforce development. The Empowering Futures Initiative now supports 15 participants on paths that include GED programs, Bermuda College courses, and apprenticeships. This work is supported by a robust monitoring and evaluation framework that holds all partners accountable and ensures that resources are used effectively. These grants are structured investments with accountability built in at every stage. The process is as follows. 1, programs submit daily grant applications with budgets and sustainability plans. 2, applications are reviewed against criteria tied to the National Violence Reduction Strategy goals. 3, awardees participate in orientation sessions where expectations are set. 4, programs are required to submit quarterly progress reports. 5, at the end of the funding period, a formal evaluation measures outcomes against agreed metrics. And throughout this process, the Gang Violence Reduction Team is on the ground, visiting programs, reviewing progress, and connecting directly with the young people and families served. Madam Acting Speaker, this year, we will host community roundtables to hear directly from residents, frontline workers, and families about violence, service gaps, and solutions. The Mental Health Matters campaign amplifies these voices, telling real stories of resilience and recovery through photography, spoken word, and storytelling. Madam Acting Speaker, some of our most important work is with those at the highest risk of harm. 15 individuals received intensive wraparound support in June, including mentorship, advocacy, and family safety planning. The Gang Violence Reduction Team is present in court every day, linking individuals to services and supervising community service placements that hold individuals accountable while offering guidance. They respond quickly to incidents in schools and neighborhoods using mediation and restorative conferencing to prevent escalation. When this House endorsed the National Violence Reduction Strategy, Honorable members were assured that it was not a slogan or a wish list. The strategy outlines more than 80 targeted actions, each tied to the 8 strategic goals of the National Violence Reduction Strategy, and each designed to deliver measurable impact. These actions reflect a whole of government response, with the Ministry of National Security working alongside the Ministries of Health, Education, Justice, Youth and Social Development, Tourism, Culture and Sport, and Economy and Labor. Together, these partners carry responsibility for different elements of the plan, ensuring coordination across prevention, enforcement, rehabilitation, and cultural change. Madam Acting Speaker, the Ministry of National Security, working in partnership with the police and the Gang Violence Reduction Team, is tasked with designing and delivering an annual evidence-based violence prevention workshop for community leaders, educators, coaches, and youth workers. These workshops will focus on emerging trends in gang involvement, innovative intervention strategies, and the most effective practices in preventing youth violence, drawing on both local data and international best practices. Free access is also to be provided to the Mental Health First Aid Certification course for educators, youth workers, and community leaders. This will ensure that those who work closest with our young people are equipped with culturally competent, trauma-informed skills to identify challenges, intervene early, and connect individuals to appropriate support. In addition, at least 60 community mediators and facilitators, including youth workers, faith leaders, and residents, will be trained through certified restorative practice programs, helping to build community-level capacity to resolve conflict peacefully. Madam Acting Speaker, the strategy further provides for post-incident mental health and trauma counseling, ensuring that families and communities have timely access to the support they need after violent incidents. A national audit of mental health and substance abuse services is to be completed, identifying gaps in service and barriers to access, with this information made easily available through the Stop the Violence website. Building on this, a youth-focused mental health anti-stigma campaign will be developed, featuring community ambassadors with lived experience to shift public perceptions and promote resilience. On the employment and reintegration front, the strategy calls for the expansion of the GVRT's Redemption Initiative and its Work Placement and Mentoring Initiative, with additional staff and resources dedicated to connecting high-risk individuals to meaningful employment and vocational training. Partnerships with local GED providers will be expanded to enable more learning support for those who need it. The plan also provides for psychosocial events focused on men and their children, strengthening family bonds and promoting mental health awareness. Finally, Madam Acting Speaker, the strategy recognizes that long-term change requires cultural transformation. A national suite of print and digital materials will be created to explain the types of violence, early warning signs, prevention strategies, and available support services, all designed to be culturally relevant and accessible. Madam Acting Speaker, robust monitoring and evaluation is the foundation of any effective strategy, and the National Violence Reduction Strategy was built with this in mind. We recognize the expectation of this Honorable House and the public to see clear evidence of progress and acknowledge calls for greater transparency in data. The ministry is redesigning how outcomes are collected, analyzed, and shared, moving from ad hoc reporting to a structured, transparent system that tracks progress against the strategy's 8 goals and ministry-specific SMART objectives. The National Violence Reduction Strategy is not a slogan. It's a movement to heal our communities, strengthen families, and give young people opportunities for a better future. Every grant awarded and every intervention delivered represents an investment in a safer Bermuda. Madam Acting Speaker, I wish to express my sincere gratitude to the Gang Violence Reduction Team, community organizations, educators, families, and residents who are leading this charge every day. Your efforts, often unseen, are the backbone of this strategy and a lifeline for many. Madam Acting Speaker, we will continue to listen, to engage, and to invite everyone in Bermuda to take part in building a safer, stronger country. This Honorable House can be assured that the Ministry of National Security remains deeply committed to this mission, and I welcome ongoing dialogue with members and the public as we move forward. Thank you, Madam Acting Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. Minister, I believe you have a second paper. You might want to get a sip of water before you start.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sure.
Madam Acting Speaker, in our ongoing commitment to strengthen social programs that benefit the Bermuda community, I would like to highlight that the Ministry of National Security, through the Department for National Drug Control, or DNDC, joins communities globally in recognizing September as National Recovery Month. The 36th Annual Recovery Month, led by the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Administration in the USA since 1989, is observed every September to acknowledge the progress achieved by individuals in recovery from substance use disorders. The month also advocates for and supports innovative treatment and recovery practices, celebrates the robust and proud recovery community, and recognizes the commitment of service providers and communities that facilitate recovery in all its forms. This year's theme, Recovery is Real, Restoring Every Aspect of Life, underscores the notion that with appropriate treatment, support, and resources, recovery is attainable. Recovery Month particularly honors those overcoming challenges related to substance use disorders, which encompasses drugs, alcohol, and other addictive behaviors. And it pays tribute to the resilience of individuals and families on this journey. Madam Acting Speaker, this year, the Centers for Disease Control is concentrating on young individuals with substance use disorders or those in recovery, emphasizing the impact that real conversations can have in facilitating their access to assistance and support. You may remember that the Throne Speech 2024 emphasized the need to reestablish a dedicated adolescent substance abuse treatment program under the direction of the Department of National Drug Control. Efforts are currently in progress to put this program into action. Madam Acting Speaker, in anticipation of this year's Recovery Month, the Department of National Drug Control formed a committee chaired by the treatment officer comprising representatives from Turning Point, Bermuda Hospitals Board, Focus Counseling and Transitional Living, Harbor Light, Salvation Army, Pathways, Right Living House, that's the Department of Corrections, and Bermuda Addictions Certification Board. This committee collaborated to organize multiple community-oriented events in honor of Recovery Month. The events begin with the BACB-sponsored Substance Abuse Professional of the Year Award ceremony, which recognizes individuals who deliver exceptional care and support in the field of substance abuse treatment. The committee has organized a Recovery Barbecue Fun Day to honor and recognize individuals who have embraced recovery for their strength and perseverance. Additionally, an event is planned that will feature bowling and karaoke for those who are currently receiving treatment services. Madam Acting Speaker, the Department of Corrections will commemorate Recovery Month with various events, such as a barbecue picnic honoring current and past residents of the Right Living House, including those who have provided support. Later in the month, the Department of Corrections will host a graduation ceremony for inmates who have demonstrated a commitment to positive transformation through substance abuse recovery and rehabilitation. Madam Acting Speaker, the government of Bermuda offers treatment for both men and women through the Nelson Bassam Substance Abuse Treatment Center located in Dockyard. The center provides residential and outpatient programs for individuals facing challenges with drugs and alcohol dependence, in addition to facilitating access to a network of prevention and recovery services across the island. Madam Acting Speaker, numerous individuals and families in Bermuda have endured suffering in silence or shame due to the effects of substance abuse. However, recovery is both real and attainable. It is essential to raise awareness to remind our community that seeking help carries no shame, and every person in recovery is entitled to dignity, compassion, and support. Recovery Month serves a crucial opportunity to dismantle the stigma that frequently accompanies substance use. So, Madam Acting Speaker, I commend the Department of National Drug Control, the Department of Corrections, and our community partners for their dedication in assisting individuals in creating new lives. Recovery encompasses more than just abstaining from substances. It involves the restoration of all facets of life, health, family, dignity, and hope. I especially encourage those who are struggling to recognize that they are not alone and that help is available. Thank you, Madam Acting Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. I now call on the Minister of Tourism, Transport, Culture, and Sport. Minister Darrell?
Thank you, Madam Acting Speaker. Madam Acting Speaker, the title of my ministerial statement today is A New Chapter in Tourism Investment for Bermuda. Madam Acting Speaker, 4 of the matters introduced in this honorable house today directly relate to tourism in Bermuda. Honorable members will have seen from the order paper that 2 bills and 2 tourism investment orders are intended to be taken up at the next sitting. Madam Acting Speaker, these legislative items write a new chapter in tourism investment in Bermuda. The government has engaged in a deliberate promotion of the incentives available to attractions, restaurants, and local operators in the tourism economy. The result, Madam Acting Speaker, is a fast-growing interest from local entrepreneurs who seek to avail themselves of the benefits of various forms of relief that often are assumed only to apply to large developers. Accordingly, Madam Acting Speaker, honorable members will note that this honorable house will soon take under consideration orders that grant relief to 2 local businesses. One, a commercial charter yacht, and the other, an exciting attraction designed to add variety to which we offer our guests. It is a source of some pride to advance these orders as they demonstrate growth in the local economy and the government's determination to support those who express the confidence in our tourism fortunes. Madam Acting Speaker, the Tourism Investment Act will also be tabled today, and this begins the fulfillment of our throne speech promise to modernize the act. The restrictive criteria by which tourism investment orders might be varied will be a thing of the past. And in consultation with the Minister of Finance, the minister responsible for tourism will take to account of real-time factors affecting tourism-related businesses and the potential impact on Bermuda's national economic interest. This flexibility has long been suggested by developers and investors, and the amendments to the act represent a constructive understanding of the role that the government must play in facilitating the investment that ultimately will benefit the people of Bermuda. Madam Acting Speaker, as I signaled in a statement to this honorable house in June, the developers of the Lauren acquired the site of the former Elbow Beach Hotel and have set about expanding the existing hotel's footprint to include this new site, operating 1 hotel in 2 separate locations. This concept has been adopted with great success in some of our competitor jurisdictions, and it is an exciting prospect for Bermuda. The bill to be tabled in this House today proposes to grant relief to the developers for their intended vision, consistent with that which is available under the Tourism Investment Act. A bespoke act of the legislator is required to realize this new concept into Bermuda's tourism inventory. It is likewise an exciting prospect as we stand on the cusp of seeing a long vacated site revitalized and providing jobs for Bermudians in the various stages of demolition, construction, as well as operation. Madam Acting Speaker, these are exciting times for Bermuda's tourism. The deliberate actions taken by this government support on-island attractions. They sustain investor confidence, and they provide opportunities for jobs for our people in this key pillar of our economy. Madam Acting Speaker, a new chapter is indeed being written in tourism investment for Bermuda, led by the government that has the Bermudian worker, the Bermudian entrepreneur, and the investor at heart. Thank you, Madam Acting Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. And while you get ready to read your second paper, I just wish to recognize the Senator of the OBA, Victoria Cunningham. She's in the House.
Thank you, Madam Acting Speaker. Madam Acting Speaker, I rise today to report on Bermuda's successful participation in the 15th Caribbean Festival of the Arts, known as CARIFESTA 15, which took place in Barbados from the 22nd to the 31st of August, 2025. Madam Acting Speaker, Bermuda brought a delegation of 18 creatives representing our island across dance, music, visual arts, film, as well as literature. Our contingent joined thousands of artists from across the Caribbean and beyond in celebration of regional culture, creativity, and unity. From the outset, Bermuda made its mark. Our national Gombe troupe proudly represented the island in a parade through the streets of Bridgetown and the opening ceremonies, carrying the rhythm and spirit of Bermuda before an international audience. The delegation wore designs by Bermuda brand Holiday, demonstrating the talent of our fashion sector on an important stage. Madam Acting Speaker, Bermudian musicians performed with distinction. At the Soca Super Concert, Alay and Fire Wayne performed alongside Darren Bailey Band, who learned their original music and backed them on a massive stage constructed especially for CARIFESTA. They shared the bill with soca legends such as RPB, some of you would know that as Red Plastic Bag, Biggie Irie, Little Rick, Skinny Fabulous, and the soca great Marshall Montano. A remarkable experience that underscored the quality of Bermudian artistry. On Bermuda Night, the spirit of CARIFESTA was truly felt when our brothers and sisters from Trinidad and Tobago opened the evening to ensure a warm reception for our performers. Kyra J., Joy T. Barnum, Alay, Fire Wayne, and the Bermuda Gumbes lit up Golden Square Freedom Park with music and dance, carrying the Bermudian story proudly. Madam Acting Speaker, our young Bermudian talent also shone brightly. Kyra J. performed at the Richard Stout Youth Showcase, backed by an all-star band and supported with vocals by Joy T. Barnum, demonstrating the depth of our emerging creative generation. Madam Acting Speaker, our delegation contributed to the thought leadership at the highest level. Bermudian artist Ms. Jerde Hassel participated in a distinguished panel discussion, Fragments and Futures, Collage as a Radical Reclamation. The Bermuda Gumbes took part in a conversation, Afro-Caribbean folk culture, beyond preservation, alongside cultural scholars like Dr. John Hunt and Kieran Dwayne Sargent. And Dr. Karika Weldon participated virtually in the big conversation, Old Talk, New Frequency, Tuning the Archive. Our delegation also touched hearts in Barbados. The Gumbes joined with masqueraders and dancers from St. Lucia, the British Virgin Islands, Guyana, and Barbados in a mobile dance activation across the island. They performed for children at a local home, and they participated in workshops and performances that strengthened cultural bonds with our Caribbean neighbors. Madam Acting Speaker, Bermudian literature and film were also on display. Tiara Webb took part in a literacy reading, judged a poetry slam, and connected with international literacy agents. At the CARIFESTA Film Festival, audience were able to view the Department of Culture's Gombe short film, Not a Generic Gombe, and Gombe Unity, directed by Carlita Lodge and Kian Dickerson, alongside Thoughts Become Things, created by Stephen Johnson and Mark Rodriguez. Bermuda's visual artists were also featured in the festival's exhibitions, including the Code as Canvas show. Madam Acting Speaker, the Barbados Prime Minister, the Honorable Mia Amor Motley, captured the essence of this festival in her closing address when she said, "Life must give us shelter and food and work. Those are essential. But as human beings, we need the nourishing of the soul. And whether that is through acknowledging our heritage, or whether it is through reflection on our Caribbean civilization, or whether it is through tasting the wonders that we have as a Caribbean people with the influences from the world that made us unique, or whether it is the celebration through movement, dance, music, art, and craft, we have to be able to nourish our souls." Madam Acting Speaker, during my time in Barbados, I did have the opportunity to meet with many of our cultural neighbors to discuss the cultural exchange and explore opportunities for future collaboration. These conversations reinforced that Bermuda's culture has a meaningful place in the wider Caribbean family, and there is great potential for us to continue building regional partnerships. Madam Acting Speaker, I would like to formally thank Prime Minister Mia Motley and her team for facilitating such a remarkable festival. Their leadership, their hospitality ensured that CARIFESTA 15 was not only a success, but an event that will have a lasting impact on our region's artistic and cultural landscape. Madam Acting Speaker, Prime Minister Motley also reminded us that CARIFESTA 15 does not stand in isolation. It is about building a people, building a region, building a civilization, and reclaiming our destiny. Bermuda was proud to stand with our Caribbean neighbors in pursuit of that shared destiny. Madam Acting Speaker, Bermuda's participation in CARIFESTA 15 exemplified the goals of cultural diplomacy, to share our island's creativity with the world, to build relationships across the region, and to celebrate a shared Caribbean identity. Our artists stood shoulder to shoulder with the region's finest, and their talent and professionalism made Bermuda proud. Madam Acting Speaker, I'd like to wish and thank the Department of Culture for coordinating Bermuda's involvement, the Gombe Council for leading our national troupe, and most of all, our artists who carried the flag with pride. Madam Acting Speaker, Bermuda's presence at CARIFESTA 15 demonstrated that while we are small in size, our culture is rich, our culture is resilient, and we are ready to take its place on the world stage. Thank you, Madam Acting Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. I now call on the Minister of Youth, Social Development, and Seniors. Madam, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Acting Speaker. I am pleased to provide an update this morning on the significant programming initiatives undertaken at the Office of Youth Affairs, made possible by the commitment and professionalism of its staff. As children, Acting Speaker, we often looked forward to school breaks. They provided a welcome distance from the daily routine of lessons, homework, and assignments, and opened up a time for play, relaxation, and discovery. Yet, Mrs. Acting Speaker, the perspective may change when we view these breaks through the eyes of parents. For many families, school holidays bring transition. These school breaks present adaptations in balancing work responsibilities with the need to ensure children are engaged, supervised, and cared for during extended periods away from the classroom. Mrs. Acting Speaker, every working parent in Bermuda knows this challenge. School breaks arrive, but does work stop? Where do our children go? What do they do? For generations, Bermudian families have found ways to support each other through these times. It is who we are as a community that looks after our own. Today, through the Office of Youth Affairs, we are carrying that tradition forward with programs that meet the needs of parents while unlocking the potential of our young people. Mrs. Acting Speaker, the Out of School program is not just supervision. It's a dynamic initiative that serves children from preschool through middle school. It provides structured, engaging, and purposeful activities that extend far beyond simple care. The program is built on the pillars of character education, social emotional learning, community involvement, and teamwork. These activities are thoughtfully designed to meet the developmental needs of different age groups, ensuring both enrichment and enjoyment. Each cycle is tied to the themes from our national youth policy, ensuring alignment with our broader vision for youth development in this country. The Out of School program fosters personal growth, respect, inclusivity, and leadership, while cultivating a sense of belonging and community spirit. It is not merely a stopgap during school breaks. It is a platform for holistic development that supports families, strengthens communities, and invests in the future of our young people. Mrs. Acting Speaker, during the 2024-25 academic year, the Out of School programs serve children across the island during 5 school break periods, running daily from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. at the cost of $60 per week. The program consistently exceeded demand. Mrs. Acting Speaker, each community center is unique, like the children it serves. The Eastern Zone in St. George, the Central Zone at Sammy Wilson Center partner with Delwood Middle School, and the Western Zone at Booz Island with shuttle support from Weston Primary School. These partnerships show how our communities pull together. Mrs. Acting Speaker, during the 2024-25 academic year, the Out of School program was delivered successfully during October, December, February, April, and July breaks. And in October, the focus was on building character and friendships. During this month, primary 3 to primary 6 level students participated in a newly crafted Wild and Out overnight camp held at Grace Island that emphasized independence, teamwork, and environmental appreciation. Mrs. Acting Speaker, I want to commend the youth service team. Their commitment ensured these programs did more than occupy time. They built confidence, leadership, skills, and friendships that will last. Our young people and their families are stronger because of their dedication. Mrs. Acting Speaker, the new academic year has begun, and the team at the Office of Youth Affairs is ready with its themes for 2025-26. Out of school programs that include sportsmanship, community service, and aviation adventures, just to name a few. Our parents will be pleased to know that their preschoolers and middle school age children will be fully engaged in amazing activities. Mrs. Acting Speaker, last month, we hosted Bermuda's first Youth Entrepreneur Expo in recognition of International Youth Day. The year's theme was local action for the sustainable development goals and beyond. 15 young Bermudians aged 11 to 24 showcased business they created, from jewelry and clothing to natural beverages, Bermuda-inspired scents, baked goods, and more. Mrs. Acting Speaker, we invested in each participant with professional headshots and product photography, because their courage and creativity deserve recognition. One attendee said, "I was surprised to see so many of my peers with businesses. I am now considering starting my own business with friends." Another said, "The atmosphere was welcoming and empowering to be surrounded by such young, talented creators." This expo arose out of research conducted on youth entrepreneurship as a study task in relation to the National Youth Policy. The support from the Bermuda Economic Development Corporation and Kidpreneurs, BDA, ensured that our young entrepreneurs were well aware and involved. Youth Entrepreneur Expos are already part of the regional landscape in Jamaica, Guyana, Belize, and the Bahamas. With this expo, Bermuda has joined that regional movement, and we are determined to make ours one of the strongest platforms for our young entrepreneurs. This initiative will now be held 3 times a year starting in 2026, rotating across community centers to ensure access and visibility island-wide. Our youth will not only partake in Bermuda's economy, they will help shape it. Mrs. Acting Speaker, the cost of doing nothing is always higher than the cost of investment. When families are stable and youth are empowered, businesses thrive and Bermuda grows stronger. Behind every program statistic is a neighbor, a grandparent, a child with potential we are helping to unlock. The goal is simple. Every young Bermudian deserves a platform to build their future, whether through safe engagement during school breaks or by launching their first business at the age of 11. We are not preparing children for the world as it is. We are preparing them for the world they will shape. That is the vision, that is the commitment, and that is the future we are building together. Mrs. Acting Speaker, in closing, I want to thank the Youth Service team at the Office of Youth Affairs for producing high-quality programming for Bermuda's youth year after year. For them, every day is a youth day. Thank you to the Youth Services team for consistently delivering innovative programs for Bermuda's youth. Thank you to all of our 15 young youth entrepreneurs who participated in our first ever Youth Entrepreneur Expo in recognition of the United Nations International Youth Day. Thank you, Ms. Acting Speaker.
Thank you. Thank you, Minister. I now call on the Minister of,
I have one
I
more.
think you have a second paper.
Yeah.
Yes, I was just going to call the Minister of Health, but you do have a second paper.
Thank you,
Yes.
Ms. Acting Speaker.
Yes.
I'm pleased to rise this morning to lay the Financial Assistance Amendment Regulations 2025 in this honorable House. The amendments aim to close identified gaps that impact Bermuda's most vulnerable populations. Our seniors and persons with mental health challenges, needs, who are clients of the Department of Financial Assistance. The enhancements to the legislation provide further financial and social protection to support these vulnerable populations, guaranteeing no one gets left behind. Ms. Acting Speaker, the Department of Financial Assistance is mandated by the Financial Assistance Act 2001 and the Financial Assistance Regulations 2004, which provides the legal framework for the issuance of financial awards by the Department of Financial Assistance to individuals in need, and certain expenses to be allowable expenses if they fall within a class of items of expenditure, with DFA would legally be responsible for paying. Regulations 3.1 of the Financial Assistance Regulations 2004 provides the criteria for eligibility for financial assistance award or subsequent award for a person claiming financial assistance during any period. Ms. Acting Speaker, the Financial Assistance Regulations 2004 provides a list of sources of income under Regulation 2 that are deemed excluded income, one of which is defined as income from a pension and other benefits to an amount not exceeding $500 per calendar month payable under the Contributory Pension Act 1970 and the Public Service Superannuation Act of 1981, and other than pensions and benefits payable to persons who are in residential care homes. As a result of the statutory definition, when the Department of Financial Assistance calculates the means test to determine a pensioner's financial assistance assessment and eligibility, pensions amounting to $500 or less per month legally cannot be included in the legislative formula calculation. This ensures seniors can maintain a basic income. Ms. Acting Speaker, let me share the basis of the amendments. There have been occurrences of DFA awarding proportional reductions in financial assistance awards received by clients who are seniors pensioners because of the recent periods of pension increases. In practice, this means when DFA conducts a means test on these seniors pensioners and their pension income that exceeds the legislative threshold of $500 per calendar month must be included as part of the calculations and qualifying household income. This leads to a reduced financial assistance award received by the senior pensioner on the basis that their household income is being offset by a corresponding decrease. As a result, seniors pensioners are now being impacted by receiving proportional reductions to their awards or unable to fulfill the eligibility requirements to receive financial assistance. Ms. Acting Speaker, statistics provided by the Department of Social Insurance over the past 20 years show that there were increases to pension amounts payable under the Contributory Pensions Act of 1970 and the Public Service Annuation Act of 1981 to persons aged 65 and older. These increases to pension payouts aim to provide a countermeasure for annual cost of living inflation increases, allowing seniors to maintain a degree of financial independence. However, in respect to a senior who is A, currently receiving a financial assistance award, or B, applying for an award, the pension increases are reducing awards and does not provide the additional financial support as intended for all pensioners. Ms. Acting Speaker, to address this issue, the bill increases the excluded income thresholds for pensions from not exceeding $500 per calendar month, as currently stated in Regulation 2 of Financial Assistance Regulations 2004, to a threshold amount not exceeding $800 per calendar month. This proposed amendment would align with the maximum threshold for pensions by the year 2030. Therefore, Ms. Acting Speaker, the legislative amendment does come with financial impact on DFA's budget, as there's currently 376 pensioners who will be impacted by this change, presenting a cost to the department of $112,920,000 per month. Ms. Acting Speaker, I would like to shift the Second Amendment to the regulations. The Department of Financial Assistance takes a holistic approach to ensuring the physical and mental state of clients receiving a financial assistance award is paramount. To support the department's approach, recommendations are made to Mid-Atlantic Wellness Institute. Alternately, to bridge a gap in demand for mental health outpatient treatment, clients are referred to a licensed and approved clinician in private practice. However, Ms. Acting Speaker, clients and mental health practitioners have informed DFA that the 6 sessions per year, which is the maximum number under DFA sessions can legally fund, is not enough to help clients in their quest to address their mental health conditions. Currently, the regulations allow for clients who are eligible to receive mental health outpatient treatment at a maximum cost of $840 per year or a maximum of 6 sessions per year. Ms. Acting Speaker, we have taken a position to make this amendment based on best standard practice of access to mental health services, which takes into consideration frequency, utilization, cost, need, and access. We have collected data on the private insurer's schedule of benefits for mental health services, and there is much variation across private insurers in mental health support, particularly in Bermuda. What we all can agree on is that mental health treatment services are needed to provide equitable access to those persons on financial assistance who may be vulnerable, disadvantaged, on a low income, and have adverse childhood experiences or experience stressful or traumatic events. DFA clients will receive a maximum of 24 mental health sessions per year at a cost of $840 per month. This amendment will enhance the regulations to ensure this determination is supported in legislation, allowing DFA clients diagnosed with mental health conditions to receive continuous mental health services. Mental health support is not a luxury, it is a necessity. Mrs. Acting Speaker, the government is committed to Bermuda's most vulnerable, in this instance, our seniors and persons requiring mental health support. This commitment is reflected in the Financial Assistance Amendment Regulations 2025, which aims to strengthen the Financial Assistance Regulations 2004 by providing assurance that there will be minimum to no adjustments to financial assistance awards to pensioners during periods of reassessments that are triggered by increases to pension incomes as enacted by the Department of Social Insurance, and an increase of mental health outpatient services to DFA clients diagnosed with mental health conditions. Ms. Acting Speaker, the amendments to the financial assistance regulations guarantee that there are legal protections in place to ensure financial assistance clients who are seniors maintain a basic income and a degree of financial independence, and clients diagnosed with mental health conditions receive continuous mental health outpatient services so that they are empowered. In the words of Dustin Saudi, the biggest battle of our life are fought in the darkness of our mind. And this government is affording clients of financial assistance to have access to mental health services if needed. Ms. Acting Speaker, in closing, I now lay the Financial Assistance Amendment Regulations 2025 in this House. Thank you, Ms. Acting Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. I call on the Minister of Health, Minister Wilson.
Thank you, and good morning, Ms. Acting Speaker. Today, I rise to acknowledge the beginning of a new school year, a time of fresh opportunities, new challenges, and the emotional journey our students embark upon. As the days of summer wind down, this week marked the beginning of a new school year filled with new experiences and opportunities. Madam Acting Speaker, across Bermuda, students return to their classrooms filled with anticipation for another year of learning and growth. The excitement of meeting new teachers, starting new classes, and even walking into new environments is real. But alongside that excitement is it is natural for students to also experience moments of stress and worry as they adjust to a new school year. Madam Acting Speaker, I want to remind parents, guardians, teachers, and students that nurturing good mental health in our youth is the foundation for true success. Academic achievement can only flourish when mental well-being is prioritized, as these two are inseparable. Each age group of students faces its unique challenges, and each requires tailored support from families, schools, and communities to ensure that the transition back to school is as smooth as possible. Madam Acting Speaker, for our youngest learners in primary school, going to school for the first time or returning after summer can feel overwhelming. These children may experience anxiety about separating from their parents, adjusting to new routines, or making new friends. Parents and guardians, you have an important role in helping your children navigate these feelings. Take time to ask them about their day and truly listen to their responses. Validate their feelings of worry, reassure them that feeling nervous is normal, and remind them that they will be okay. You can also help by establishing routines for going to bed and getting ready in the morning that help them feel secure. Your help with homework is in a calm and encouraging way can also help to build the confidence children need to feel prepared to succeed. Teachers also play an important role in creating supportive classrooms where children's feelings are acknowledged and a normal part of everyday conversation. When children feel safe to express themselves, they are better able to focus, learn, and thrive. Madam Acting Speaker, our middle and high school students also need support. They often face a different set of pressures like navigating peer relationships, seeking social acceptance, managing academic performance, and worrying about their future after high school. For some, these pressures may even lead to experiences of anxiety or depression. Parents and guardians of teenagers should remain attentive to changes in behavior, moods, or social engagement. Encourage open conversations about the stressors in their lives, model healthy coping strategies, and help them balance their responsibilities by encouraging rest, exercise, and supportive community connections. Teachers also play a critical role in supporting teenagers. By checking in with students and noticing early signs, such as withdrawal or a decline in academic performance, they can reach out for support and connect students to the care and resources they need. With timely intervention and encouragement, young people can regain their confidence and continue to thrive. Madam Acting Speaker, we cannot forget our college-age students. This period of young adulthood is an exciting stage of transition with newfound independence, but it can also come with challenges in managing academic expectations, finances, and building new social networks. For young adults heading to college for the first time, I want to remind you that self-care truly matters. It is okay to ask for help when you need it, and it is best to ask early. Don't wait until you are overwhelmed or in a crisis to seek support. Asking for help is a sign of strength, and there are counseling services, peer support groups, or other wellness programs available to help you succeed both academically and personally. Madam Acting Speaker, regardless of age, if you are a teacher, parent, or guardian, these are simple but effective ways to support the mental health of our young children. Encourage them to get enough sleep, limit their screen time, especially before bed, and make time for regular physical activity. These healthy habits go a long way to promote good mental health and well-being. You can also build fun and positive activities into their routines, giving them something fun to look forward to and to reduce stress. Most importantly, keep talking. Keep the lines of communication open so that your children always know that they have a listening ear and a safe space to share their feelings with. This can often be the most powerful tool for ensuring youth get the help they need when they need it. Madam Acting Speaker, to support this vision, the Ministry of Health has a number of initiatives in place that benefit our students and our families. The Healthy Schools program works with schools to promote nutritious eating, physical activity, and overall wellness, and each year schools that excel are recognized with the Healthy Schools Award. Our P1 Health Screening Program ensures that every child entering primary school is screened for vision, hearing, motor skills, social well-being, and other key health indicators so that challenges can be identified early and children can receive the support that they need to thrive. Madam Acting Speaker, we are also investing in nutrition services and health promotion programs where our teams provide guidance, workshops, and resources to schools, PTAs, and community groups to help individuals and families adopt healthier lifestyles. And in addition, our community health visiting services support new mothers and young children through home visits and early childhood education in government preschools. And finally, Madam Acting Speaker, we continue to invest in the mental health of our young people through community mental health grants. Organizations such as the Family Center and MASK have expanded access to counseling and support programs that directly benefit children, teenagers, and their families. Madam Acting Speaker, in closing, as students, teachers, parents, and guardians embark on the new school year, I encourage you all to remain vigilant, compassionate, and supportive. I want every student to know that they are not alone. Your families, your schools, your communities, and your government are here to stand beside you. This school year, let us commit not only to academic achievement, but also to focusing and fostering resilience, practicing kindness, and prioritizing mental well-being so that every child and young person in Bermuda can thrive both in the classroom and in life. Thank you, Madam Acting Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. And before the next minister takes the floor, I'd like to recognize former member Michael Scott. Member, thank you for your attendance. Yes. Yeah. Now I call on the Minister of Works, Minister Adams. Minister Adams, please.
Just squeezed it in to say good morning, Madam Acting Speaker. Just squeezed it in. Madam Acting Speaker, private roads across our country are becoming an increasing concern, with many residents facing unsafe conditions, deteriorating infrastructure, and overly complex administrative processes for making much needed improvements. Whether it's repairing potholes, installing street lighting, fixing retaining walls, or paving unsealed roads, the current system can be burdensome, especially for everyday Bermudians. Madam Acting Speaker, as you are aware, there are two key pieces of legislation which govern improvements to private roads, and they are the Private Roads Improvement Act 1969 and the Private Roads Lighting Act 1984. While the Road Improvement Act of 1969 does allow the minister responsible for public works to initiate improvements without requiring full upfront payment, it does not currently allow for waiving resident contributions entirely. This means the financial burden often falls on communities, many of which cannot afford it. But Madam Acting Speaker, the challenge isn't just the cost alone, it's the red tape as well. Under current legislation, even when residents are desperate for repairs or safety measures, the requirement for community cost sharing and consensus can result in a deadlock. The bureaucracy is often more frustrating than the condition of the road itself. As Minister of Public Works and Environment, I hear these stories almost every week. Madam Acting Speaker, we receive a steady stream of calls and emails from people trying to get potholes filled, retaining walls repaired, or mirrors placed at blind corners. But too often, we respond with technical explanations of why, under the current laws, the government's hands are tied. One grandmother recently told us that she no longer walks home from evening church services, not because she fears people, but because the road is so poorly lit that she's afraid of falling. Despite years of requests, no street light has been installed. Why? Because it's a private road and the neighbors can't agree. Madam Acting Speaker, this cannot be the standard. That's why the 2025 speech from the throne announced the government's intention to modernize these acts. Proposed changes include expanding the minister's authority to implement traffic calming measures, install safety mirrors at dangerous bends, and carry out other critical safety upgrades on private roads in the public interest. But perhaps the most important change may be our attempt to simplify the process. We want to streamline the bureaucracy and give the government more flexibility to step in, particularly when safety is on the line. Madam Acting Speaker, it is important to note that we are not seeking to override the voices of residents, but we are seeking to make sure that vital infrastructure improvements don't get lost in endless paperwork or disputes between neighbors. The updated legislation will aim to balance the community input with government responsiveness, so that when something needs to get done, it can get done. But before the legislation is drafted, Madam Acting Speaker, we want to hear from the people of Bermuda. And so I rise this morning to advise this honorable House that starting Monday, September 22nd, the government will launch a public consultation process to gather input on how these acts should be updated. Madam Acting Speaker, the public can participate in two ways. They can visit the government forum website to share their views, or participate in upcoming phone surveys. Madam Acting Speaker, this consultation isn't just about fixing roads. It's about building a country where safety, fairness, and dignity aren't limited by your postal code, fairness isn't just limited by your postal code, where every voice matters and every idea brings us closer to a system that works for all. And so again, I invite the public to join the conversation starting September 22nd, and let's work together to build communities that put safety and fairness first. Thank you, Madam Acting Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. I call on the next minister, and that is the Minister of Economy and Labor. Minister, you have the floor.
Good morning, Mrs. Acting Speaker.
Morning
Madam
to
Acting
you.
Speaker, I stand before you to announce a pivotal moment in Bermuda's journey. We are introducing two landmark legal reforms that will cement our position as a forward-thinking and responsible global financial center. Madam Acting Speaker, I am pleased to introduce in this honorable House the Benefits Entities Act 2025 and the Trustee Amendment Act 2025. These reforms represent our bold commitment to being a jurisdiction of choice for those who believe that prosperity and purpose can and should go hand in hand. Madam Deputy Acting Speaker, for too long, the business world have been defined by a binary choice, for profit, or non-profit. But what about the organizations that strive for both? The Benefits Entities Act 2025 will introduce a new legal framework for use by companies, limited liability companies, also known as LLCs, and limited partnerships that are looking to change the way they manage their business operations to be more beneficial to society and the environment. Typically referred to as public benefit companies, these types of entities are committed to pursuing one or more public benefits or positive effects on society, considering the impacts of business operations and decisions on the entity's shareholders and other stakeholders, and periodic reporting of the entity's performance regarding intended public benefits to shareholders and, in many cases, the public. Unlike a traditional company's goals of maximizing profit for shareholders or investors, Bermuda benefit entities will operate under a legal framework that allows them to prioritize both profits and additional stakeholders, including our wider society and the environment. The Benefits Entities Bill aims to position Bermuda as a leader in a global environment where the concept of stakeholder capitalism is being embraced by traditional for-profit companies and capital societies. By creating a benefits entities framework, we are not just positioning ourselves to attract a new kind of business, we are creating an ecosystem in which companies can optimize short-term profits for shareholders while also seeking long-term value creation for all stakeholders. The Benefits Entities Act 2025 will differentiate Bermuda from other jurisdictions in the following ways. The bill includes an enhanced level of flexibility that allows entities to choose whether or not they will identify a specific public benefit to be pursued. The bill reflects a triple bottom line approach that focuses on profit, people, and the planet, instead of a more standard double bottom line approach that balances profit and purpose. The bill will establish benefit entities for traditional limited companies, LLCs, and limited partnerships, in contrast to most jurisdictions which offer this option for traditional companies and LLCs only. And Bermuda will likely be the first offshore jurisdiction with a dedicated benefits entities framework. In tandem with the benefit entities, we are also making a critical amendment to our trust law. This change empowers trustees to factor environmental, social, and governance criteria into their investment decisions without fear of violating their fiduciary duty. Bermuda will differentiate itself as a jurisdiction through enhancement of the Trustees Amendment Act 2025. This bill will establish Bermuda as an early adopter of statutory flexibility and protection for trustees to consider non-financial factors when investing trust assets. This bill is viewed as an appropriate companion to the Benefits Entities Bill because these changes will allow a trustee to consider the views of settlers and beneficiaries regarding the environmental and social impact of investments, as well as the governance of those entities in which the trust might invest. Settlers and beneficiaries are valuable stakeholders of any trust, and this bill is reflective of the growing demand for sustainable investment strategies and responsible stewardship of private wealth. There is wide industry support amongst Bermuda's trust sector representatives for updating the trust law to accommodate evolving views regarding the impact of investments and corporate governance, and Bermuda will take a leading role amongst our competitors as an early adopter of these types of changes. Madam Acting Speaker, I would like to thank industry representatives for their assistance in the development of the underlying legislative proposals for these bills. We appreciate every opportunity to collaborate with industry representatives on business development initiatives. We look forward to more opportunities to work together to sharpen Bermuda's competitive edge through updated legislative frameworks. The benefits entities and the trust law amendments are a testament to our adaptability and our unwavering commitment to shaping a better, more sustainable future for Bermuda and the world. Thank you, Madam Acting Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. And that brings us to our final paper. And I think the Minister of Home Affairs will be reading that.
Indeed. Good morning, Madam Acting Speaker. Today, I rise to report on Bermuda's participation in the second Africa-CARICOM Summit, which took place in Addis, Ethiopia from September 6th to the 8th under the auspices of the African Union Commission. The summit convened heads of government and senior delegates from across Africa and the Caribbean, joined by the United Nations Secretary General and Chair of the African Union, the President of Angola. Madam Acting Speaker, the summit carried deep symbolic weight. A gathering of the Caribbean community, descendants of Africa, who returned to the cradle of civilization as kin with the deeply etched memory of the violence of slavery and division that was established by colonial exploitation. As a Bermudian, recognizing that our African descendant community dates back to 1617, it was a moment of profound reclamation. The summit was an opportunity, Madam Acting Speaker, to rediscover and to reconnect. We met as one people and affirmed that there is more that unites us than the false narratives imposed upon us through slavery, colonialism, and exploitation. These very forces that stripped us of our dignity and who are responsible for distorted identities, who sought to and still seek to undermine the value of our collective progress. As Bermuda's Minister of Home Affairs, I embrace the proceedings as an agent of the ideological progress, reaffirming our identity, oneness, and as a proxy to reclaim the dignity denied to our ancestors. At the summit, Madam Acting Speaker, Africans and Caribbeans declared our commitment to repatriating our minds and to rediscover one another. There was undoubted recognition that to see each other was to see ourselves. As a minister responsible for CARICOM affairs, it gave me great pleasure to stand in solidarity with the island's community. We were welcomed as welcomed home, and we stood on never colonized Ethiopian soil and affirmed the commitment to shared economic prosperity and to justice for the true African diaspora that we each represent among our islands. Madam Acting Speaker, one of the most significant engagements arranged on the margins of the summit was the official visit of the delegation to Shashamane. This, honorable members would note, is the land that Emperor Haile Selassie set aside nearly 6 decades ago and invited any member of the diaspora to return him. While there, I had the pleasure of reconnecting with Bermudians who had answered that call, and I was particularly moved to be connected with Danny Rogers. Madam Acting Speaker, as we chatted and we bonded over our shared history that intertwined in Bermuda, and as we connected and exchanged our story, it revealed that not only was he a constituent from constituency 14, where I represent in this honorable house, but he fondly recalled my grandfather who cut his hair as a young boy and also knew of my mother and remembered me as a small child in a rich moment of alignment and connectivity. Madam Acting Speaker, I was moved to learn that so many Bermudians had decided to make their lives there and expressed a willingness to work with our government to advance opportunities through trade and to extend support to Bermuda's economy to reduce costs and align with the government's agenda. The promise they offered represented practical pathways to strengthen food security, diversify imports, and expand opportunities for Bermudians, all of which support our government's mission. Madam Acting Speaker, our government's mandate rests on unity, equity, and tangible progress. Bermuda's presence at the African-CARICOM Summit advanced each of these priorities. Unity was strengthened through connection with our Caribbean family, with the African Union. Equity was advanced through engagement on economic justice and opportunity. In Addis Ababa and in Shashamane, I carried the voices of Bermuda's people and the workers confronting high prices, the seniors requiring dignity in retirement, and the families seeking stability. I was honored to represent the voices of our community and to affirm that Bermuda and its history is inextricably linked to Caribbean and to Africa. Madam Acting Speaker, the summit evidenced that connection is our greatest strength. Connection between Bermuda and the Caribbean, connection between the Caribbean and Africa, and connection across all diaspora communities who continue to keep alive the memory of our struggle and the hope of our shared prosperous future. Bermuda will continue to foster strengthened relations with CARICOM membership and bring the electorate along the journey, recognizing that the silence of our historical bonds has been the greatest weapon on our undeniable identity. We will do so as part of the diaspora, reclaiming its place in history, determined to shape a fairer, more sustainable future for all of our people alongside our brothers and sisters. In Bermuda, as across much of the diaspora, we may not have always known the names of the ancestors or the exact lands from which they were taken, yet we know and will always remember that without question, we are African. This truth is our bond, and it will be the catalyst that brings us together as people across oceans and across centuries. Thank you, Madam Acting Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. That takes us to reports of committees. I call on Member Scott Simmons. Member, you have the floor.
Good morning, Madam Acting Speaker. Under the provisions of Standing Order 35-4 of the House of Assembly, I hereby present for the information of the Honorable House of Assembly a report of the Parliamentary House and Grounds Committee dated the 12th of September 2025, together with a copy of the Ministerial plans for the renovation of Sessions House as referred in the committee report. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Member. That takes us to Premier's questions. I recognize the Leader of the Opposition, and I remind the Leader that you are entitled to 3 questions with 2 supplementary follow-ups on each question, and that any members seeking to ask questions of the Leader, only any members seeking to ask questions of the Leader, only only have 1 question each with 2 supplemental questions. Okay, you may begin with
Thank
your
you,
questions.
Madam Acting Speaker, members of this honorable House and the listening public. Mr. Speaker, the scourge of guns and drugs that arrive by air and sea is resulting in the increased number of murders of young Bermudian males and females. On July 11th, 2024, the Minister of National Security informed this honorable House that he was informed in October 2024 that the HM Customs and Immigration Vessel Reporting Dock on Ordnance Islands was not deemed safe for use, which raises the threat of weapons and drugs entering this island. My question, will the Honorable Premier please inform this honorable House what the plan is to repair the HM Customs and Immigration Dock, a key component in our border security, to include costs and timelines for commencement of works and completion?
Premier?
Thank you, Madam Acting Speaker. Madam Acting Speaker, though I certainly would not be able to provide on my feet costs and timelines for these particular works, I can inform the Honorable Opposition Leader that those works are currently being undertaken, as was stated by the Minister of National Security previously. But I think it's also important to recognize that there is operational continuity within our border control system. Customs does deploy mobile and alternative inspection protocols while fixed infrastructure is repaired. We are coordinating with the other works in St. George's to make sure there's no duplication. And so from that particular perspective, there's also active RFPs on works that are taking place, such as the matter in replacing the building for the dock scanner on Hamilton with upgraded infrastructure that will be in place there as well. So I accept what the opposition leader says around the fact that we need to make sure that our border security is continued to be strengthened and invested in. And that is the reason why we have the largest capital investment that this country has seen in 16 years, making sure we're dealing with matters from east to west, also implementing matters inside of your constituency, Madam Acting Speaker, with regards to the Coast Guard station, so there could be further patrols and other matters to make sure that we protect our borders in this country.
Thank you, Premier. Do you have a supplemental, or you wish to move to your second question?
I have two supplementals on that one.
Okay.
Thank you. Simple question. Will the Honorable Premier please inform this Honorable House what the ballot budget allocation is for the repair of said dock?
I did say that I cannot give very much specifics. The honorable member can certainly put that question in writing, or I can happily provide it to him later, or I'm sure the Minister of National Security could. I do not, of course, keep tabs of all of the major government projects which are going on, numbering in the dozens, and I do not have those specific items in front of me, but I'm certain that those matters may have been covered either during the budget debate, but I'm certain we can provide a specific answer to the honorable member.
He will provide the answer later. Member. Second
Thank you, Madam
supplemental?
Acting Speaker.
Yes.
Reference the question I just asked. The reason why I did ask is because I did check the budget book and I didn't see that there was any budget allocation for that item. I will
Okay.
go on to my second supplemental. Understanding that public docks were repaired and or being repaired instead of HM Customs and Immigration, why were public docks given priority for repair instead of HM Customs and Immigration dock?
Okay, Premier.
Thank you very much, Madam Acting Speaker. What I would let the honorable opposition leader know is that this government embarks on projects throughout the country, and it is not correct to say that one was prioritized over the other. The matters related to the mid-year review are prior to the timeline of which the honorable member had mentioned in regards to October 2024 regarding this particular matter regarding the dock. The mid-year review was in September of 2024. The processes that went into the mid-year review started in July of 2024, and it is right that the honorable former member, the then Minister of Public Works, identified that there were community docks that could be refurbished. And I'd ask the honorable member if he does not believe that members from constituency number 15 or other places should have access to docks that people had. The fact is that we recognize that due to the financial position that this country has been in since the global financial crisis, there has not been the required infrastructure investment in maintaining and upgrading infrastructure. When we talk about matters related to communities, when we talk about matters that are related to crime and violence and antisocial behavior, it is important that the government invests in community facilities. And I can assure the honorable member, though he has a problem with the public docks which were done inside of various communities in this country, I know that the constituents living in those communities appreciate the fact that those docks are put back to use so they can enjoy the facilities that this country offers as well.
Thank you. Next question.
I just want to respond to that.
No. Next question.
Fair enough. There's a prioritization over public docks instead of.
That's your next question.
Yeah. Will the Honorable Premier please advise whether or not the number of persons who are currently facing homelessness or deemed homeless is higher than the 1,100 persons identified as being homeless or facing homeless by the charity Home in March of this year?
Thank you. Premier.
I would not be able to provide a specific answer. The thing on this place is that we must provide specific answers. I think the honorable member is asking for speculation. What I can say is that the honorable ministers that are responsible not only for housing, but also for youth, social development, and seniors continue to work on those particular issues. And I can tell the honorable member that he should look forward to an update on matters related to homelessness soon. But what we have been doing is work with agencies. The minister has given announcements regarding funding that was placed inside the budget for social issues that are providing emergency housing, that are working on issues for families that are displaced, on working with persons to make sure that persons who may be in positions of experiencing domestic violence and others have access to housing on an affordable basis. And so from that perspective, the work continues, and I look forward to the updates which will come from the Honorable Minister of Youth, Social Development, and Seniors on this topic in the future.
Thank you. Supplemental?
Acting Speaker, sorry. Question, will the Honorable Premier please advise whether or not the number is deemed to be lower or higher than is reported by Home?
I refer the honorable member to the answer I gave moments ago.
Second supplemental.
Acting Madam Speaker, understanding that there's a housing crisis in Bermuda, can the Honorable Premier advise why the Bishop Spencer School was not allocated for shelter for the homeless and people facing homelessness?
Premier.
Madam Acting Speaker, there are a number of various projects that are going on throughout the country in regards to housing and emergency housing. What is important to note is that with the partnership with Home, there are other places which are being developed. That particular site has gone out to RFP on a number of occasions. It has been reported in a matter of public record in this House, the decision supporting that. And I would ask the Honorable Opposition Leader, though he is only 2 days into his seat, to review the Hansard and review the public documents, because the answers to those questions have already been provided in this Honorable House by the former Minister of Public Works.
Thank you. That's your second supplemental. Can you move on to your third question, please?
Acting Madam Speaker, understanding that many units at Bermuda Beach Resort have not been rented, will the Honorable Premier please inform this Honorable House on whether a portion of the units will be allocated for affordable housing as a means to address the housing crisis?
What I would say is that the Honorable Minister, Deputy Premier Minister of Housing, has stated that these particular matters are up to the occupation at that place is up to 50%. I will tell the Honorable Member that comprehensive housing matters, so whether or not it is Bermuda Beach, whether or not it's a record investment in public housing, the matters that the Honorable Minister of the Honorable Deputy Premier and Minister of Housing Municipalities have announced, whether that is Chelsea that is taking place, whether it's Battery Row, whether it's all the other items of Harmony, all the rest. There are multiple units which are being brought online, significant investment, the private sector rental program, and others. So I understand where the Honorable Member is coming from, and where there is a need, we will find ways. And I know that there are persons who may have been relocating overseas that the government has been working to assist, and some of those persons are housed at the Bermuda Beach Resort. So the answer to the question is we are working across the board to ensure that we can fulfill the needs that exist in our community.
Supplemental.
Question 3.
That was question. That was question. Member.
Yep.
That was question
Okay,
3.
fine.
Do you have any supplemental?
I do.
Okay.
In terms of regarding hospital beds and overcrowding seniors. Actually, I'll conclude with those ones.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other members who have questions for the Premier? I recognize Member Fahey. You have one question, 2 supplementals.
Thank you, Madam Acting Speaker. Would the Honorable Premier please advise this Honorable House as to the date that the Morgan's Point Development Company Board approved the Memorandum of Understanding with Medical Concepts Consulting Management in regards to the proposed medical tourism facility at Morgan's Point?
The agreement is between the government of Bermuda and the company, not between Morgan's Point and the company. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Supplemental?
Thank you. Would the Honorable Premier commit to tabling the MOU to this Honorable House?
Premier?
Subject, I think it's interesting the source of where that is coming from, as we remember the time in government of where they climbed hid behind. In the press statement of which I made, I did state that we would provide those relevant details to this Honorable House, and I will seek legal advice in those particular matters, but I'm happy to share as much information as possible because it is not something that needs to be hidden.
Okay, thank you. A further supplemental?
Supplemental. In relation to that specific MOU, can the Honorable Premier please advise as to how many acres will be utilized for the proposed medical tourism facility at Morgan's Point?
Madam Acting Speaker, I can assure you that those matters are that are under deliberation and consideration, and those are not specific matters which are mentioned inside of the MOU.
Thank you. Any other members? I recognize the member Dakudo.
Yes, thank you, Madam Acting Speaker. Member from 25. I know there's 36. I can't remember them all myself.
Yes.
Will the Honorable Premier, well, actually. Let me just to help give the context. In December 2024, this government advised the public that it would remove the requirement for a mandatory medical exam upon all driver's license renewals. I personally know as of August of this year, that requirement was still in effect, and I don't see it on the order paper. So I imagine it's likely to still be in effect for the rest of the year. So the question is, could the Honorable Premier please inform this Honorable House why the government has failed to make this simple change, which was promised to the Bermudian public? Thank you, Madam Acting Speaker.
Premier.
I thank the honorable member for reciting our commitments, and I recognize that there are 11 pieces of legislation for consideration of this honorable house that are coming down today. What I can advise the honorable member is those matters continue to progress with the Ministry of Tourism, Transport, Culture, and Sport, and honorable persons or the people of this country should look forward to those particular items being brought before the end of the year.
Do you have a supplemental?
Yes, Madam Acting Speaker. Many Bermudians would feel that the government is in fact not coming through with its promises fast enough. The Premier alluded to various pieces of legislation working their way through the system. Does the government have any plans to further reinforce the teams that are working on drafting and creating this legislation so that the people of Bermuda can receive the promised benefits? Thank you.
Madam Acting Speaker, it is rich, I would say, coming from the opposition on a day that 11 matters are tabled that are going to advance things, whether it's enhanced mental health access, whether or not it is the paving the way for construction at Elbow Beach Hotel, whether or not it is the fact that we are going to be stabilizing pensions, setting in pension fee caps, all the other things, promises that were made in our election manifestos, which were being delivered. Some of those matters which are being called by from the opposition, and the honorable member is asking whether or not we will reinforce the bodies that are there to do the work. The reason why we have 11 pieces of legislation is because the government has done just that, made sure that the Attorney General's Chambers is supported with additional resources, and that is the reason why we have those particular items. So the answer to the question is yes, we will continue what we have been doing by making sure they have the support to deliver on this government's legislative agenda. And if more resources are needed to be found, they will be reallocated, because this government has a history of staying within our means when it comes to spending. And that is the reason why we have been able to deliver not only a balanced budget, but a budget surplus for the first in 23 years.
Thank you. A further supplemental, your last one.
Yes, thank you, Madam Acting Speaker. I think I translate that response as there will be no changes made to the resourcing. My second supplemental is, will the Premier commit to when the public should expect to get rid of this extra expense that they must incur when renewing their driver's license by having to get a medical? Thank you, Madam Acting Speaker.
I answered that in my first question. Clearly he's not listening.
Thank you. I recognize Member Simmons from constituency 34, is it? Or
33.
Yes, it's two Simmonses almost.
A lot of Simmonses in there. Good morning, Madam Deputy Speaker.
Yes.
Just have a question in relation to the government back in July gave a press conference on the start of the Mangrove Bay project. Could the Honorable Premier inform the people of Sands, who would be very interested and excited about this project, when they expect that to come online?
Premier.
Thank you, Madam Acting Speaker. I thank the honorable member for his question, because earlier this year, the Minister of Health and the Minister of Public Works and Environment did host a press conference to announce the start of construction of the restoration works of the Mangrove Bay Clinic. And as the honorable member represents persons of the West End, he would know that this is particularly important to members, to members of the public who live in the West. This project marks an important milestone in delivering this government's promise to restore healthcare services in the West End. It is unfortunate that this particular clinic was closed, but it is going to undergo a full renovation, transforming it into modern community healthcare facilities. The renovations are being done by a private contractor, which announced Sunrise Construction, and it is expected that they will be completed in time for an opening next summer.
Thank you, Premier. Supplemental.
Thank you, Madam Deputy, and thank you, Honorable Premier, for that answer. With the facility that's going to be reopened in the timeline you outlined, what will be the specific services available to the people of the Sands community at that facility?
Thank you, Madam Acting Speaker. And I thank the honorable member for that follow-up question, because it is important. Because what the Ministry of Health has been doing is making sure we transform the delivery of healthcare in this country. It is a difficult process, undoubtedly, and there are challenges when dealing with matters related to long-term care, etc. But when the facility is completed, it will offer a range of services, improving access to community healthcare. The programs that will be expanded primary care services under the Bermuda Health Council's Enhanced Care Pilot Program, alongside with community nursing and mental health services, in addition to coordination with aging and disability services to provide support to vulnerable populations. The reality is that this is a meaningful investment in community-based care, which will make access to essential services easier and more equitable for residents in the West End. The model is one of integrated care, ensuring that residents can access multiple services in one location, and is part of our broader commitment to reform healthcare delivery and make it more community-focused, accessible, and patient-centered.
Thank you, Premier. You have another supplemental?
Yes,
It's
Madam
your
Deputy.
final.
Yes. Great news, I think, for many of the people I represent and the people across Sands. Could the Honorable Premier expand upon, he mentioned that there will be investment in healthcare. Could you outline some of the other government investment in healthcare and how they plan to expand healthcare access for Bermudians?
Thank you, Madam Acting Speaker, because it is important to remember what this government has done in this particular budget year and how we're going to continue to invest in healthcare. There's $22 million of additional funding for the Bermuda Hospitals Board, which represents a 10% increase year over year. There are the matters, $3.3 million in renovations mentioned for Mangrove Bay Clinic, the St. George's Clinic, the Hamilton Health Center, as well as architectural planning for the expansion of Sylvia Richardson Care Facility and also Leafroy House. And in this parliamentary session, as promised in the budget statement, we will expand prescription drug coverage from 3,000 to 5,000 under future care, and from 1,000 to 3,000 for those on HIP, eliminate the 12-month waiting period for home healthcare benefits, giving families faster access to essential support annual wellness exams for all HIP and future care clients, as we do not want copays to interfere with preventative care. These investments, which are funded in this budget, which is, a reminder, Madam Acting Speaker, the second budget surplus in 2 years, are about fairness, affordability, and building a healthier Bermuda, starting with those who require it most.
Thank you, Premier. I recognize the member Robinson from constituency.
30.
Yes, 30.
Hi, good morning. Thank you, Deputy Madam Speaker. Just for clarity for the public and listening audience, can the Honorable Premier and Minister of Finance please provide the names of the airlines that are currently receiving minimum revenue guarantees from the government?
What I would say is that's commercially sensitive information, and I would not be able to provide it. However, if the honorable member wants to have a conversation, discussion with his counterpart and pose that particular question, I'm sure this will be answered. This is a well-established protocol of which we've been in this house in many times, which has been stated regarding these things and regarding the commercial sensitivities and related to these particular matters. Those are our particular items. So I'm happy for him to have that conversation, discussion with his direct counterpart.
It has passed the lunch hour, but I am inclined to go for the next 9 minutes. So we're going to continue and then we'll break for lunch.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Supplemental.
Yes, for supplemental, can the Honorable Premier then provide the cost to the taxpayer for these minimum revenue guarantees without giving off specifics of who they are given to?
I'm certain that information may be able to be provided to the honorable member, as I said before, but I am not certain about the existence of any minimum revenue guarantees in the first place. So I cannot confirm the cost if I'm not confirmed the existence of such. But what I would say, if the honorable member wants to have a direct conversation with his counterpart, as someone who is the Shadow Minister of Tourism, and I'm assuming Shadow Minister of Transport as well, he should know, well, recognize, understand the sensitivities around that. He should talk to some of his colleagues on that side who served as Minister of Transport, recognizing how the public disclosure of these things can impact competition inside of the particular market. So I would encourage him to take that, but I cannot confirm that the matters of which he's speaking to are actually there.
Okay. Thank you, Premier. Your final supplemental?
Yes, definitely, Madam Speaker. Could the Honorable Premier and Minister of Finance then confirm for the listening audience whose remit do these minimum revenue guarantees fall under, the Ministry of Finance or the Ministry of Tourism, Transport, Culture, and Sport?
They fall on the remit of the government of Bermuda, led by the Ministry of Tourism, Transport, Culture, and Sport.
Thank you, Premier. Are there any other persons? Oh, I recognize the member from constituency 23. You have the floor.
24.
20. What did I say?
Also, you said
20.
26.
Oh, 26.
Thank you very much for recognizing me, Madam Acting Speaker. In July, the Honorable Premier attended a ribbon-cutting ceremony at Harmony Hall in Paget. Could the Premier kindly provide more details on these housing units, including the cost of rent per month? Thank you.
Preparation and lovely. Oh, look, they are upset, Madam Acting Speaker, but we will go. Thank you. I think it is important to note, because the honorable members on this side posed questions that were related to matters that are related to Harmony housing. And as their chirping happens over there, if members want specific answers, they may want to say, I will be asking on this in case you want to bring specific answers, Honorable Premier, so those answers can be provided. And I will do my best to make sure they can have those. But on this side, Madam Acting Speaker, we work as a team. And when people want to get the information for their constituents, we are able to make sure that information is provided. So I am pleased to answer the honorable member's question. I'm waiting for them. I am pleased to answer the honorable member's question and say that there was the ribbon cutting of 12 newly renovated units. These units do have a monthly rental cost between $1,100 and $1,500 a month, and it marked the successful completion of phase 3 of the master plan, which will bring a total of 52 affordable housing units online. And the important thing to note is that this project was delivered by the Bermuda Housing Corporation under budget.
Thank you. Do you have a supplemental?
Madam Acting Speaker, I do. Could the Honorable Premier please update this Honorable House on what other work has been done or will be done at other locations throughout the island to increase the stock of affordable housing? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Acting Speaker. As I previously mentioned, there is the work that is taking place at Harmony Hall. Phases 4 and 5 are already planned and funded, and we'll see the redevelopment of Harmony Terrace North and Harmony Terrace South, adding 16 units each for a total of additional 32 units. This forms part of the government's wider efforts to increase the supply of affordable housing across this island. We know that we've made record investments in affordable housing, and we know that we increase the allocation to the Bermuda Housing Corporation by $4.2 million this year, on top of the record investment of which we've already made. I think it's important to note where in Southside, units have been renovated to support families and seniors, Wellington Slip Road, Rock Oven Lane, Beacon Hill, and Harmony Hill, where refreshments and upgrades and refurbishments are made. In addition, the Deputy Premier and Honorable Minister of Housing recognize that the historic Chelsea property in St. George is under renovation, delivering 2 3-bedroom homes and 2 2-bedroom homes by 2026. 18 Battery Roads in St. David's. Phase 3 is now underway to create 12 new units in a mix of studio and 1 bedroom. And of course, in Middletown, 4 new 2-bedroom units are also expected to come online in early 2026. The work for affordable housing continues, and that is due to the record investment of which we're able to deliver because we have successfully restored this country's finances to allow us to make those investments.
Thank you, Premier. For other supplemental? No?
Thank you. No.
Okay. I recognize Member Pearman. Member Pearman, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Acting Speaker, and good morning or good afternoon, I suppose now. The Honorable Premier should be aware of the significant and valid public concerns with how few inquests have occurred over the prior decade. This seems like a very easy fix with minor changes that can be made to the legislation that is almost 100 years old and was last amended over 25 years ago. Will the Honorable Premier invite the Honorable Attorney General to work with the opposition to put in place an amendment so we can fix this and fix the legislation for the grieving families of Bermudians whose loved ones have died in suspicious and unknown circumstances?
Thank you. Premier?
Madam Acting Speaker, what I would say is an important part of parliamentary democracy is the ability to bring matters to this honorable house, discuss those issues, and come hopefully to solutions. I have taken note that the honorable member has raised this particular matter in the public sphere, and I think that it is certainly a valid matter. I'm not going to state at this point in time in Premier's questions that I'm going to direct the Honorable Attorney General on this particular matter, as the Honorable Attorney General and I have not spoken on this particular matter because we were preparing a very busy legislative agenda getting ready for Parliament. But what I would say is that I would welcome if the honorable member wishes to write to me officially on these particular matters. I can happily discuss with the Attorney General, and I am more than willing to have the Attorney General reach out to the honorable member to discuss it, whether it's to the Law Reform Commission, whether it's here in Parliament. I think there was a recommendation around bipartisanship. So whether or not it's done through a committee, whether it's done through something else, I'm happy to do so. When there are matters that do touch on families, I think that is something that it's important. And so I will commend the honorable member for raising this particular issue, and we'll happily work towards. But I'm not going to get here in Premier's question time and say I'm going to give a direction to the Attorney General when I have not actually spoken to her specifically on this matter.
Thank you, Premier. Supplemental.
Yes, thank you. And I thank the Honorable Premier for his answer. I understood from that A, I am to write to the Honorable Premier formally, which I will do. What I didn't understand in my supplementary question is the Honorable Premier undertaking to this Honorable House that he will discuss this matter with the Attorney General?
Absolutely. Whether or not he writes to me or not, I will do so. But I think in the way that it is, if you would write to me formally, I can make sure that a formal response comes to the member, the deputy leader of the opposition. I can make sure a response gets to him formally on this particular matter. So it could be a matter of record. But I think it is an important issue, and I look forward to possibly advancing it.
Okay, thank you. No further supplemental. And let me take 2 minutes to I oversight. We did not congratulate the deputy leader of the opposition, and I joined the House in congratulating. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Acting Speaker.
You're welcome. Premier, it is lunchtime, and I'm going to suggest that you adjourn us until 2:15. Okay. 2:15.
All right. We got 2:15.
Yes.
1-5.
Yes.
Good afternoon. Sorry. Thank you, Madam Acting Speaker. I move that this honorable house do now adjourn until the hour of 2:15 p.m.
So moved.